Hello, everybody. We are coming to you prior to this episode with a little message, a little disclaimer.
Little disclaimer.
Yeah, so we filmed this episode, recorded this episode before all the Disney fallout with Jimmy Kimmel and with Charlie Kirk and everything that happened. We would just like to say that we do not support Disney's decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel off the air. That should be fairly obvious with everything we've said in the past.
Right. And obviously at this point he has been put back on air.
Yes.
However, we still would like to state that we, support free speech and did not agree with Disney's decisions to do that.
Right. So we just wanted to let you guys know, since this is a Disney centric episode, since they were the company who was responsible for this piece of content. So that's it, and enjoy the episode. Welcome, Space Cadets. This is Research Rank Repeat. This is co-host Hannah.
And this is Out of This World co-host Alyssa.
And we are back with Pixar. And we are spacing out.
Yeah, we're jumping into hyperdrive. Oh, God.
We are reaching for the stars.
Yeah.
We watched a movie.
We did. So Pixar has put out a new film. You probably maybe have not even heard of it because they basically did absolutely no marketing for this film until it was already out. Elio.
Yeah.
So the last film that Pixar put out was Inside Out 2.
Yes.
And I'll have a little bit of background about some updates with that film from the last time we talked about it. But this film was actually supposed to come out last year and had gotten delayed, and we'll get into that as well. This movie came out in the end of June, and honestly, we forgot it was coming out. I think I texted Hannah, and I was gonna look it up when I was like, "Hey, do you remember this movie was?" I sent this message to Hannah, so this is a quote for me. I didn't even realize Elio, the Pixar movie, came out until right now. LOL, I feel like I didn't see any marketing for it. This was on June 22nd.
Yes.
I believe it came out June 20th, so it had come out 2 days before that. Hannah said, oh shit, right? Yeah, I saw like one random thing for it months ago. That was it. So then we were like, okay.
Well, and then I texted Alyssa because it was a holiday weekend for those in America. This last weekend was 4th of July. And so I texted her and I was like, hey, you got any plans Friday? Because I'm unemployed at the moment. Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. Soon to be not.
Soon to be not unemployed, and Alyssa had a holiday off. So
I did.
We took ourselves to middle of Michigan, and we watched a movie.
Yeah, we met up, we watched a movie, and then we got a meal.
Yeah, which you'll hear about at some point.
Maybe, yeah, perhaps.
Maybe not.
So we, I remember seeing a teaser trailer for it, like, in theaters, maybe even when we saw Inside Out 2, honestly. Some children's movie. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really know anything about it other than it was, like, space-related. I don't know, did you know anything about this film going into it?
No, with these movies, sometimes I try not to look too much into them, just so I can go in more with, like, not knowing. But if we hadn't been doing this podcast and doing Pixar for the podcast, I don't know that I would have even known anything about the movie or if it was coming out when it came out.
No.
I think I knew it was space themed. I think I remember hearing about that, but truly had no idea anything about it. So
yeah, I would agree. I think honestly, this is one of the Pixar movies I've seen the least about ever.
Yeah,
like honestly, in the past, even just like thinking about the past couple years, I feel like I've seen more than any.
Yeah, because remember when was it just called Lightyear?
Yes, Lightyear.
When that came out, I remember the trailer came out with Rocket Man.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? That's the right song?
I think so, yeah. I believe so.
No, it's the ground
controlled. Space Oddity.
Space Oddity.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that trailer, and like that was a big thing. I remember seeing a bunch of stuff for it in theaters, which I haven't been to a lot of movies recently, so that could be part of it, or maybe just the movies I would go see in theaters they wouldn't show a preview for. But yeah, I didn't really see much about this.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's get into some background, specifically going back to Inside Out 2. So Inside Out 2 was the Pixar movie that was released in 2024, which we released an episode on. So if you haven't heard that, you can go listen to that for our takes on that movie. We were pleased with the film, I guess is how I'll phrase that. So in 2024... it had a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I checked yesterday, and so it now has a 91%, so it actually went up 1%. It had a 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb. It now has a 7.5 out of 10, so it dropped a little bit.
Okay.
And it had a 3.8 out of 5 Letterboxd to then become a 3.6 out of 5 Letterboxd. So it only dropped like a little bit, like a points, 0.2, 0.4. So not like really a drastic change in any way, because I feel like Elemental we saw some changes like, from when we watched it to looking at it like a little bit later on. But if you recall, it made a shit ton of money in the box office. So we're going to go over a little bit with that. So it was the first film in 2024 to reach $1 billion in 19 days, or maybe the first animated film to reach $1 billion in 19 days. And at the time when we were talking about it, it was the 5th highest grossing film from Pixar. So today, it in total grossed $1.699 billion total, which made it, at the time, the highest grossing animated film of all time. So it became the highest grossing from September of 2024 until February of 2025. That was taken over, Hannah. Do you know, aware of the film that took its place? Because there was a film that came out that is now the highest grossing animated film.
The only one I can think of that came out was Moana 2.
So it's actually a Chinese animated film called Ne Zha 2. Okay. And I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but it was a Chinese produced animated film that has grossed $2.26 billion.
Jeez.
So that is now the highest grossing film by quite a bit. Okay. Like a good, $500 million. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, it had that spot for a brief period of time.
Yeah.
It was the highest grossing film of 2024, even beating out Wicked. As we know, that also grossed a ton of money.
Yeah.
It is the 8th highest grossing film of all time.
Wow.
So it really did well in the box office. Really brought in that bank for Pixar. It received nominations for Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards, the Annie Awards, and the Golden Globes, amongst many other awards. Those are just the notable ones. It didn't really win any awards at all, to my knowledge. I tried. There was like a few smaller things it won, but it actually lost the Academy Award and the Golden Globe to a film called Flow. Which was a Latvia, France, and Belgium collaborative production film. It was a silent film, so there's no talking in the film. But I haven't seen that film, but it won all the awards. And honestly, last year was a pretty stacked year for animation. Wild Robot also came out. I really liked that.
That was a really
film.
good movie, yeah.
Inside Out I really liked. Flow obviously was well received if it's winning awards.
Yeah.
Can't say if I like it or not because I haven't seen it.
Right.
But it did really well. Obviously, and unfortunately, I have to say, Pixar is really leaning into their sequels and, Pixar, Toy Story 5 is the movie that's coming out next year. Because obviously, as we can see, the sequels are the ones that are making money.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because it means that films that are maybe not so much like well known as in like an Elio are not doing as well as a film that it has like some type of precursor to being good.
Right.
And like obviously Inside Out 2 was a good sequel. I'm not like saying it's unfortunate that film did well. It's just that it kind of reinforces that idea that only sequels can bring them money.
Yeah.
Because I know they're working on Coco 2, Toy Story 5, I think they're working
Incredibles
on another
3.
Incredibles 3, and
Yeah.
there's one other film they're doing a sequel for. So it's just like very like, ugh, unfortunate. But you know, it's how Hollywood is. We've talked about this in other episodes, like Fast and Furious and stuff, that like they're gonna go where the money is, and like there's certain franchises that make money, so they're less likely to invest into an independent film and like, you know, take a risk on something that they don't know is going to bring them profit.
Right.
The unfortunate part of Hollywood and the business. But now we can go into Elio. So Elio was released on June 20th of this year. It's rated PG and had a runtime of 1 hour and 39 minutes. So Elio is a science fiction adventure film directed by Madeline Sharafian, Domi Shi, and Adrian Molina. So just for context, Adrian Molina was a co-director on Coco, so had previously worked on Coco, and Madeline Sharafian and Domi Shi had worked on Turning Red, so more recent Pixar directors. It was written by Julia Cho, Mark Hammer, and Mike Jones, and the story was developed by all of the directors and Julia Cho. It was composed by composer Rob Simonson, who had previously never worked on an animated film before, but he was the composer of such films as 500 Days of Summer. There was a bunch of other ones, I didn't write them down, but has done work in the film industry for a while. It just was noted that this was his first animated film. So, the story itself was initially created by Adrian Molina and was inspired by his childhood of growing up on a military base and then later going to Cal Arts, which is the California school. It's like where a lot of animators go. It's like a really prestigious animation school. And the feelings of like feeling isolated and then finding your like where you belong kind of deal. That's kind of like how that story started. He later left the film to work on Coco 2 and was replaced by 2 co-directors in 2024, which this film was originally supposed to release in 2024 and was pushed back, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. The film utilized a new lighting toolset called Luna Lighting Toolset. I wasn't sure what the title was, but basically it helped them with creating the space setting and using lighting differently to better showcase space, which I thought the movie was well lit and like visually looked nice.
Yeah.
They also made use of a virtual anamorphic lens, which I had to look up what that was because I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is. It is a way to capture widescreen on smaller aspect ratios. So it basically allows you to take like a widescreen image and allow it to be like compressed down. And they also consulted multiple psychologists on the ideas of like isolation and loneliness in children. So same thing with the, kind of what they did with Inside Out 2 is they consulted experts on like how to best portray that and what that means, like how to characterize that. So the character of Olga Solis, who is Elio's aunt in the film, was originally written to be his mom and was going to be voiced by America Ferrera. But that was changed to be his aunt in 2024. And America Ferrera left due to scheduling conflicts, and she had already recorded lines for this film, and so she was replaced by Zoe Salonda at this point. But basically, the film went through a lot of rewriting, redubbing, like re-recording lines. So just wanted to note that was the initial voice actress. As we love America Ferrera.
Yeah, now that I'm like heard that, I'm like, oh,
I know,
I love her.
She would have been good.
Oh.
But basically, they also said, I don't know who said this, but I wrote in quotes, so it must have been quoted on our most trusted site, Wikipedia. I mainly used Wikipedia for this. It was changed to quote deepen Elio's motivation for wanting to be abducted. So that was why they decided to change that role. Okay, so let's talk about some controversies, Hannah.
Classic.
So, the Hollywood Reporter released an article in June of 2025, so I think it came out June 30th or 29th, so within, like, the last week or two.
Yeah.
It was written by Ryan Gajewski, June 30th. So I did write the date it came down. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but they wrote this article, and it contains comments from multiple insiders, some named, some who did not wish to be named. The title of this article, Hannah, is Inside Elio's Catastrophic Path, America Ferrera's Exit, Director Change, and Erasure of Queer Themes.
Okay.
So, I did read this article. I went and read it because I was reading on Wikipedia, and I was like, oh, I should read this full article. So I kind of just got some main takeaways from the article. It is an interesting article. Like, if you want to read it, like, feel free to go look it up. It's Hollywood Reporter. It wasn't a super long article. A couple, like, scroll down, so maybe 10-minute read. Yeah. So if you're interested in it, you could read it. But basically, the takeaway is that Elio was written as a more queer-coded character initially. This was noted as Adrian Molina is an openly gay filmmaker, and obviously, as we're drawing a lot of inspiration from his childhood, you can see the correlation with that. Yep. And it said that leadership suggested that Elio should be, quote, more masculine, and removed, which was in the initial cut of the film, his passion for fashion and environmentalism. They noted that you can see in the film they still kept his like very like cape made out of like Popkin tabs, and he's wearing like a very like green and like, you know, green and blue outfit. And obviously, so they kept portions of that, but they never explained that that's the reason that was like that is because he was supposed to be interested in fashion and like environmentalism. So basically, what led to this happening? In the summer of 2023, they hosted an early test screening in Arizona, where the audience present said that they really enjoyed the film. But when they asked if any of these people would see it in theaters, not a single person raised their hand, which was concerning, obviously, as you are trying to market to an audience that will come see the film.
Right.
So they also said that there was feedback from leadership. So they test screen, you know, obviously in front of Pixar, like employees and, you know, higher ups, that it was not well received by leadership. And after this, Molina left the project. There is conflicting reports where someone said that several creatives working on the film also left the project at the same time, but then someone else said that didn't happen, so it's hard to say if that is something that occurred due to his leaving the project or if people are just leaving unrelated to that. But basically, I guess what I was reading is it sounded like he initially was offered a chance to co-direct it with Domi Shi, who had done Turning Red. He turned that down, so then they brought in two co-directors to rework the film. They changed a lot of plot points, obviously changing Elio's mom to his aunt. And so something I did is I went and rewatched the teaser trailer, because that came out in 2023. So Hannah, I'd like you just to watch that now, and like we'll cut this part out when we do it, but I just want you to watch it because it is very different from the film that we saw.
Okay.
I just wanted you to watch that to see what that's like.
All right, I will watch it. Okay, it's really weird to hear America Ferrera's voice.
Yeah.
And also, like, the fact that the villain is
not
like,
really a villain?
He was, like, on the ambassador.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And also, one thing I noticed is that when he's being abducted, he's like, no, like, he doesn't want to be abducted.
Right, and in this movie, he, like, wanted that.
Yes. So, obviously, they reworked with the movie to have new plot changes and character changes, part of the reason why this film was delayed about a year. An unnamed former Pixar artist said, quote, and this is a quote from the article, "Suddenly you remove this big key piece, which is all about identity, and Elio just becomes about totally nothing." So there are people within Pixar who are concerned about removing key elements of, like, a certain story of a character, you know, like removing characterization that was previously there. There seemingly was little marketing for this film. It says it was like claimed that it has a budget of like 180 million, but like inside reports said that the total cost ballooned upwards of somewhere of like $300 million just with all the extra like, you know, rechanging and cuts and, you know, a new voice actress and all this extra stuff. But Pete Docter, who is one of Pixar's head, was also last year quoted as saying that the studio said, quote, "The studio should make the most related films possible." So the most relatable films possible, which had people concerned that they were trying to cater to everyone and not necessarily having like unique identities for the characters that they write and the stories that they tell. The film initially, was supposed to come out in March of 2024 and ended up being delayed to June of 2025. So let's talk about the box office. As of July 2nd, the film has made $47.7 million in the US, $78.1 million worldwide, for a total of 78.1 in the first, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Is not great.
No.
Not great. It is the lowest opening weekend for a Pixar film ever. So just of any Pixar film released, at 20.8 million. They said some of this was probably due to competition from Lilo and Stitch and the How to Train Your Dragon live action film. They actually delayed the premiere a week to avoid opening the same weekend as that film.
Yeah.
Not that I think it really did anything. But currently it sits at an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic score of 66 out of 100, 7 out of 10 on IMDb, and a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. One thing I pulled, just because I was looking at some of the Letterboxd reviews from people, as I do on Letterboxd for films that I've seen, a user by the name of Sean Chandler said, quote, "A good Pixar film that wants to be a great Pixar film," end quote. So I just wanted to include what people were saying about the film, as obviously it's reviewing fairly well based on just the numbers that we're seeing from critics and audiences. So now I have a Google summary, probably written by AI, but I believe this one is better than the one we got from Inside Out 2, which was literally one sentence. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think a real person wrote this. Just when you listen, you'll know. Elio, an underdog with an active imagination, finds himself inadvertently beamed up to the Communiverse, an interplanetary organization with representatives from galaxies far and wide. Mistakenly identified as Earth's ambassador to the rest of the universe, he starts to form new bands with eccentric aliens while discovering who he's truly meant to be. So, my first note is Hannah and I saw this in theaters. We reserved tickets the day before. I asked Hannah, I said, "Are we the only people who have reserved tickets?" She said yes. And while we were there, I want to say there were a total of 8 people in that theater.
Yeah, there couldn't have been more than 10.
Yeah. Not a lot of people. Knowing what I know with the background of this film, one of the things as I was watching the film that I noted is I felt like the plot was kind of what was the word I used? The plot seemed a little off, it was not paced right. And obviously knowing now that they made a ton of changes to the plot and structure of the film, that was pretty much a done film, it makes sense that it just felt a little disjointed at times.
Yeah.
It felt like some parts of it were really slow and some parts of it were really fast, and once he gets into space, I felt like that went really quick. They just, there was no build up. It was just oh, here we are. We're just going to fly right into that bit. I don't know. I feel like, and obviously we're going to get into spoilers, just heads up
if you haven't seen
the film and if you care. I feel like what this user said is kind of how I see the film. I feel like it is a good film.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the film, but I feel like it could have been better. It could have been better, and I'm wondering if... I think the part that gets me is, obviously this film is not doing good in the box office, right?
Right.
But if their concern of the first cut was that it wasn't going to do well in the box office, and then they changed a bunch of aspects about it and it still didn't do well in the box office, it feels bad that it got gutted from the original idea to then still fail. That aspect, I feel like it feels rough. It feels bad that was the outcome, or as of now, is the outcome of that.
Right. And I wonder, a lot of the Pixar movies that have been doing well have been, like you said, sequels.
At least more modernly,
well,
because...
it's hard because Turning Red and a couple other ones
Soul
just really came out on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
because
during
of
COVID. Yeah. Although I don't think Lightyear did great in the box office.
No, so I think it's hard to say whether it's because they made those changes or if it's just Pixar's having a hard time presenting new original movies that aren't sequels.
Yeah. I also wonder if they didn't have faith in this film and that's why they didn't really advertise it.
Maybe. Or because if they'd already spent so much money redoing it, they maybe just didn't have a budget.
I don't know.
I will say, I think changing it from a mom to an aunt, to me, makes more sense for the movie.
Of what they ended up telling?
Well, yes, because I think if you're trying to portray this kid who feels really like he doesn't belong and like he doesn't really have anyone on Earth that cares about him, I think it makes sense because in the movie they have both of his parents have died and his aunt kind of just got like stuck with him, quote unquote. Yeah. And that's how he feels. And so I think it makes sense for that. For the way they went with the film, I think it makes sense. Yeah. I will say, like, I definitely got close to tears a couple times.
Yeah. I teared up near the end, like, twice.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just because it's Pixar and they have a way of doing that to me, or if it's because I think some of the themes, like, you can relate with, and so it makes you be like, oh, yeah, I remember that feeling, especially, like, when you're younger.
I feel like most people in some sense can relate to feeling like lonely or isolated, whether it's in adulthood or as a child, just you know.
And like it deals like really early on it deals with like loss of parents, and there's a lot of people who have dealt with that and who live with other family members and just kind of don't feel like they have their own family. I think it definitely hit, like, for me, like, hit the emotional aspects. I do agree that the plot was a bit, it was weird because it felt like the movie went by really fast, but it also did feel a bit disjointed.
Yeah. I also feel... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say there was, like, some good humor. Like, definitely... There was a couple times where I'm like, oh, this is funny. So I think they got the humor down. I just think that maybe the story needed a bit... I think chopping up the story the way they did hurt. Did hurt it.
Because the first movie that came to mind that I feel like it is very similar in plot, and there's a lot of movies that do this, but Lilo and Stitch is like the first one that I thought of, and I think maybe part of the reason why I feel like it was disjointed is because I feel like Lilo and Stitch did that story better, like more emotionally like connected with me than this did, because I think, I don't know, I feel like something that I've seen a lot online is that, and also because I looked at some of like the award stuff more recently, but I feel like Pixar is at a point where the technology of 3D animation has advanced so far that there's not really that many stylistic changes you can make for a realistic film. Right. Because obviously something like Inside Out 2, like they change the animation styles for, like, you know, the inner workings of your brain, or something like a Elemental, where they're not realistic, like, human characters. And, like, obviously I think a lot of the designs of the aliens were really interesting. But I feel like in terms of humans, at least the past couple films, they all look very similar. They all look very, like, similar in style, and I'm wondering if that makes them less, like, desirable to watch. Because I feel like a lot of other studios are making more interesting, like, a lot of studios doing the 2D, 3D animation style, or experimenting with other animation styles that maybe that's hurting Pixar.
Yeah, and I feel like they've kind of gone through this before. Like, there was a period where I felt like a lot of their movies looked similar, and then I remember, like, I want to say it was Soul that came out, and it was like, oh, like, they've stepped up because you could see, like, individual hairs on the arm of the main character, and it was really impressive. I don't know if it's that they're running out of original ideas, that a lot of the themes Pixar's been doing recently feel similar. Yeah. Like in this movie it's about not feeling like fitting in, belonging, and also this sense of, like, parental expectations when it comes to, like, the villain and his son.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've kind of
done that.
Like Soul was a lot about like trying to fit into a family and trying to like find yourself. Coco and
which I honestly, that makes sense if the director worked on that. Right. Also and wrote a lot of this original story.
It's hard because it's like that is true that it's like original to the person who makes it, but
and Elemental also had a lot of that.
Yeah,
as well.
And so I think I don't know if it's this movie gave me a little bit of Luca vibes too, like. In some ways, in some of the themes that were presented.
And Turning Red. It really, like, you're right, that all
I know, it just feels Pixar like films... a combination of all these, like, they've all been kind of... Okay, here's what I want to say, though. Because
like I guess other than Soul, like a young protagonist that is trying to find out who they are, like, individualists.
I just thought of this, and I wanted to bring this up, because the one thing I will say about Pixar, and about probably a lot of animation companies... We didn't get these types of movies when we were kids.
Right.
We didn't get these types of, like, emotional, like, deeply emotional... I mean, there are themes in old Pixar movies, but...
Right.
I just think it's cool that kids these days are getting to see movies like this. Because I don't know if you heard, but there was... Sitting behind us was, like, a kid... He was probably in his, like, I don't know, elementary school age.
10?
Yeah, sitting with his dad. I assume it's his dad. And he said something like, "Oh, I just feel really sad for the main character." And I'm like, it is cool to see kids can empathize with these characters who are going through a lot. Right. And so I think it's cool that they continue. In some ways, I like that they continue to do these themes because I think it's important for kids to learn empathy, to learn, like, it's okay to show emotions. Yeah. Because I did get the sense, though, with Elio that, like, he was clearly, like, a very sensitive kid.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he was made out to be this, like, tough macho kid. Like, he clearly was sensitive. He didn't fit in. He was being bullied. Right. And so I think it's cool to see characters like that. I just don't know if they're finding a hard time, like, making new ways to do movies like this.
Because I feel like Disney... more recently has kind of leaned into that idea of, like, generational trauma.
Yeah.
In which I think, like, Encanto is probably the best, like, but most well-done version of that movie.
Right.
But it feels like... Because I haven't seen every newer specific Disney Animated Studios film, but I know a lot of their films have been very, like, generational trauma type. There's no, like, true villain. It's very, like, focused on that ideals. And I'm like, I feel like... that can work, but it doesn't necessarily work if you only do that type of story over and over again.
Part of it is probably the people who are now making movies are people from our generation, people who now, like, that's sort of the shift in generations is that we're more willing to talk about those things and wanting to talk about those things. And so I think that's coming through in media, not even just animated. It's coming through in a lot of, like, TV shows, movies.
Right.
But yeah, I wonder, like, Lightyear I felt like was kind of different for me. Like,
yeah, but I also didn't really like Lightyear.
No, and that's much. Why I'm like, well, maybe I like the movies that bring more emotion. I just don't know if they're... Pixar tends to... Disney, Pixar, all these animation companies, they, like, pump out these movies. There's 2 Pixar movies coming out next year.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe it's just a matter of quantity over quality. Like, I don't know what it is.
It's part of that is, like, obviously the original film, people, like, the test screening, people liked it, but they weren't, like, willing to go to theaters, and that might speak more to people having access to movies, like, at home.
Yeah, and how expensive it can be to, especially for a family to go, you know?
You know, that, like, movie theater experience is not as necessary or as common as it was. Yeah. You know, like, when we were kids, if you wanted to see a movie, you had to go see the movie. You had to go.
Or you had to wait for it to come out on
6
DVD.
Months. Yeah, you'd have to wait 6 months to see it, where a lot of these, like, you can wait 2 weeks and it's on a streaming service, you know? And so a lot of times that's more convenient. So, and especially because, like, they pushed Disney Plus on, like, on Turning Red, on Soul, like, on films. Like, Turning Red could have been in theaters. It was far enough into COVID. Like, it was 2022, I think, or late 2021.
Yeah, it could have come out in theaters. I remember there was sort of a backlash over it not coming out in theaters.
Because I feel like that would have done really well with theaters. Because you're catering. Like, obviously, here's the thing. Pixar generally has tended to, historically, and we've kind of talked about this, had more male-centric led characters.
Yeah.
And obviously Inside Out 2, which is the highest grossing Pixar film ever, is a female-led character.
Yeah.
And so obviously that's not a hindrance to people, like boys won't go see a girl,
Right.
that kind of
mindset,
mindset, right? But I feel like, I don't know, there's some of that, like Turning Red, I feel like got hurt by multiple aspects on that front.
Yeah.
But something else I wanted to note is that I feel like how Disney had like the Renaissance era where it was just like so many good films in such a short period of time. I feel like there was a time frame where Pixar was like the premier studio to make an animated film. And I looked because I was just curious. So for the Academy Awards, so the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature started in 2001. And so since 2001, they've won it 11 times. So they won 5 in the 2000s, 5 in the 2010s, and they won 1 with Soul in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was interesting to me to note that, like, in the time frame, like, so we're now roughly halfway through the 2020s.
Mm-hmm.
They've only won 1 time.
Right.
And they had previously won half of the, like, years were winning of Pixar films.
Right.
So I feel like they're not necessarily like a forefront animated studio. Like they're not known for being like the best anymore. And not to say that the films they put out are bad, but it's more just other studios are doing like Into the Spider-Verse. I thought was a really interesting, well done film that people obviously really liked.
I think other studios are stepping up. Like I even think of like DreamWorks.
Puss in Boots. The last
and I know
really
How to
good.
Train Your Dragon movies were really popular.
Right.
I think other studios are definitely stepping up, and I wonder if, in some ways, Pixar is not moving as fast as other.
Yeah. I feel like that might be part of it.
I wonder too, it's one of those things where if you're at the top of the game and then it's hard for you to keep hitting those. Right. I feel like it's easier for other companies to step up to your level than for you to keep going up. Right. And so I wonder if they just have that issue of like they've been at the top of the game for so long that it's hard for them with other companies being able to catch up to them.
Right.
Because I still go and I enjoy these movies. Like,
yeah, right.
We both walked out of that movie and I was like, yeah, I enjoyed that movie. Like, I didn't hate it. There was nothing about it that I thought was horrible.
Right. Like, I didn't go into that film and go, this is boring, this is bad.
I was entertained.
Like, and it's more just like, I was like, I feel like this could be better.
Yeah,
I think what I kind of kept thinking
about. I go back to that review again where it's like, the potential was there. It just, maybe because of the stuff it went through, couldn't hit that mark.
Yeah. So I guess just to kind of go over, like, an overview of the movie where we start on Earth and we're there for quite a while. Like, we get this early flashback of him, like, having lost his parents, and we never hear what happened. We just know that his parents died. And he's obsessed with space. Like, he's very interested in space and what's out there. His aunt works for the U.S. government, does work with, like, satellite dishes and, like, space debris, like, debris in the airspace. And he's obviously, like, they have issues, obviously she's very busy, she, is very committed to her work, and he feels very lonely and doesn't really have friends, and, makes contact with, life in space, and then goes and pretends that he is Earth's, like, president. He's the leader of Earth, and, that obviously backfires. And then we get, like, a whole subplot with him meeting a small alien bug child, and they bond. Obviously, they're both lonely in different ways and isolated, and they become, like, best friends. We got, like, some weird there was, like, some weird, like, slow-mo montage stuff going on that I'm like, I don't feel like we needed the slow-mo.
No, it's,
for this
like,
bit.
It reminded me of, like, a 2000s montage.
Yeah, but I will say, I did really like that friendship that he developed, and I wish there would have been more of that specifically.
Right.
Like, I feel like if that had come sooner in the film, because we don't meet this character, Glorgan. Yeah, we don't meet him until, like, I want to say over, like, almost halfway through the film. So I feel like that could have come sooner. Maybe. But the other thing I thought we could have used more of was the I just feel like we didn't get enough characterization of the aunt. Like, I feel like she should have gotten a little bit more screen time and a little bit more like, character growth. Yeah. I feel like that could have really helped a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, and I you saw a couple scenes where she's, like, breaking down and, like...
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they switched the character that they just didn't have the time to fully develop. But, yeah,
right.
I think it could have helped to have understood maybe a little bit more of her perspective.
Right.
Because it's clear that she cares about him.
Right, obviously, yeah.
She's just, like, a single parent, essentially, raising a kid who's not actually her kid, who's, like, her nephew.
Yeah.
And sort of trying to, like, navigate, like, how to raise a kid who's dealing with grief, but also who's different, and kind of having a struggle with that work-life balance. And so I think I feel like
my problem is I keep comparing her to Nani from Lilo and Stitch.
Right.
I feel like she's done so well of, like, that struggle of trying to raise, like, in this case, it's her sister, or younger sister, but trying to raise a child that, you know, being put in a position that she doesn't really have any control over and trying to juggle everything.
Well, and I think we got, like, if we're skipping ahead, like, favorite scenes, like, I love the scene of him and her on the beach when she's,
I did too.
When she's looking for him, and, I think that's a moment where you got to see... I think that's what we missed maybe a little bit, was some more of those moments of just the two of them.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of scenes of them separated and getting both their perspectives, but I think getting a couple more scenes like that would have maybe pushed the movie a little bit further.
I think so, too. Yeah.
Because getting that moment on the beach was like, oh, like, I can see this is a really heartfelt relationship, and they both really truly care for each other. It's just they're having a hard time figuring out how to exist. Coexist.
Right, and how to express that. You
know. Yeah.
Yeah, that was also one of my favorite scenes as well. I thought that worked well. So he has a clone made of himself to send back to Earth, so it's not suspicious that he's gone. But obviously, like, the aunt is, like, right away is like, something's wrong. Well, like, something is wrong here.
And, like, I thought it was funny, the scene where he, like, cuts off his finger gardening, and she doesn't see it, and it just, like, grows back. Right. But, yeah, like, I think it was interesting because we get these parallel of her and then the villain, and he makes a comment about, like, you always know which kid is yours, and she kind of has this same thing of, like, it's not even her kid. I mean, it is her kid, but she, like, also knows. Yeah. And so I think I like that, those parallels of the two of them, but yeah, I mean, there was definitely things that could have been improved.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the ending, I could have used, like, I wish we would have gotten, like, one more scene of them back at Earth, like, adjusting to, like, this new
because I thought we were going to get a scene with the boy that he had been...
Yeah, he kind of befriended a little bit
who, like, felt bad about, like, oh, we're not going to, like, hurt him too much and apologize. I thought we were going to get a scene of, like, the two of them hanging out or something of that matter. Yeah.
I feel like we could have used, like, one more scene at the end, but it, like, it was fine.
I felt like it wrapped it up nicely. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, like, I it's hard because I think it is a good film. I feel like maybe it's a little more targeted towards children. Yeah. Like, there's less for an adult, you know, like, if you're an adult going with your kid, or if you're like us and are going as, you know, older adult women, maybe obviously I don't think it's catered necessarily for me.
No,
which is fine.
I think it depends, because I felt like a strong emotional pull to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's what kept me sort of entertained by it. So I think maybe it depends on who you are as a person and, like, how you relate to it.
I also, for some reason, and when I was looking at all my Pixar rankings, for some reason, I don't know, I just have never really been able to fully connect with, like, space-themed films. Yeah. I just, like, space as a medium, I don't feel like has ever been, like, I like space, but I've never felt, like, super drawn into that, like, idea. And, like, as I was looking at my ranking list, I'm like, all my space films are in the same location, like, on my list for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy space themed things, so maybe that's where we're at a difference there. Yeah, maybe.
But like, I thought it was a solid movie. Yeah. I think it's good. I think it's unfortunate. We won't fully really know what fully happened behind the scenes, but I almost wish we could have seen that original film, because it sounded very, like,
interesting.
Good, interesting and maybe in a different way, but yeah.
Okay, let's get into favorites.
Yeah.
My favorite character is Elio.
Yeah.
I think it's hard not to pick a different character because he gets the most development, the most screen time, and sort of just, I think everyone can relate to his feeling of, at some point in everyone's life, you feel different, you feel like you don't have a place.
Right.
And so I think he's a relatable character for me in that sense.
And, like, especially being, like, a, like, early teenager age, like, that's a hard time to adjust with, like, with everything else going on. Like, it's a hard time to have, like, those type of feelings and not feeling like you belong and not feeling like, issues with parent relationship type deal. So, yeah, I picked him as well.
Favorite scene, I did go with the one on the beach. I just thought it was, like, really heartfelt, like I had said earlier. But I also did enjoy the aunt kind of figuring out he's a clone, and she had, like, this whole board set up. She had, like, the Charlie Kelly. Yeah. I thought that was... Yeah. There was, like, a book that was, like... I can't remember what the title of it was, but I just thought it was, funny. A funny scene, so...
I thought that one was the best, like, funny scene for me. Yeah. That was also the beach scene was my favorite scene. I thought that had it was, like, it carried the most weight, like, without having to say that many words, which obviously we know Pixar is good at, so... It makes
showing, not telling.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense that would be one of my, my favorite scenes.
I don't know if this counts for a favorite quote, but I really enjoyed it. Happened twice in the movie, but at the end, it was like a radio show was playing, like, this sort of narrator voice came over.
You mean Carl Sagan?
Yes, Carl Sagan. Sorry, forgot his name.
That's like a real, actual,
And I thought it worked really well in the context of, like, this film. It's like this whole thing about, like, how everyone wants to feel like they belong and that, like, there's other life out there like them, stuff like that. So I like that. I don't know if that's really, like, a quote, but I enjoyed that.
I looked up. I was trying to find, like, a quote that I remember hearing and being like, oh, that's nice. So I looked it up and I did find it where the quote's unique can sometimes feel like alone. Yeah. And I was like, I feel like that's very fitting,
that's fair,
and true. It can feel very true where you might feel like you don't have a place based on, like, certain, interests or just, like, personality types or things like that, or, like, having to move or having to start somewhere new and the challenges that can come with that. So I thought that was a good kind of, like, lesson, from the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, now, the ranking. Where did you rank this film?
I keep going back and forth. I have an issue right now where Up is too low.
You do have Up low. Yeah.
Which is making this ranking hard. I definitely liked it more than Lightyear, which right now I had Lightyear at 19th. I think I would put it, because of where Up is, I think I would put it at 17th. Okay. Which for me would be, would make Up 16th and Toy Story 2 18th. I definitely think Up is a better done movie. But I think I liked it more than Lightyear, and I liked it. WALL-E, for me, the first, like, 20 minutes, 30 minutes are really good, and then it just, like, goes to shit.
Yeah.
I think this, to me, was a bit more of, like, a complete, and I, like, emotionally connected more. So I think I would put it, which is about, like, midway. Right now we have 29 movies, and so 16th, about halfway. So yeah, I would think I would put it there, but I'm gonna have to, or sorry, 17th, but I'm gonna have to move up at some point because it's gonna mess up my rankings.
Yeah, I kind of did a similar place. I liked it more than I liked Lightyear, and I wasn't sure. I was like, I feel like WALL-E, just specifically those first 20, 30 minutes are so good, and then the rest of the movie,
it's just like, man,
it's whatever. So I put it at number 19. So Toy Story 2 is right above it, and then Lightyear would be below it, moved down to 20. I was trying to, like, because I was like, Toy Story 2, WALL-E, Lightyear. I was like, that seems right, but I didn't
realize we had, like, that gap right there. We have pretty similar movies.
We have pretty much the same.
Like we have, like, Toy Story 2, WALL-E, Lightyear, Onward are all kind of in that chunk for us.
Yeah. We're all kind of, like, in a similar spot, yeah.
Yeah, and I think... Yeah, I think it's just kind of, to me, like that guy said, like, a good movie that wants to be great.
Yeah.
And I think good movie. Like, definitely enjoyable than a lot more of the other Pixar movies for me, since I put it like about halfway up, but could definitely have gone higher depending on how that first movie would have been. I think. So
because I feel like, I don't know, I didn't write this down, but there were some people talking about if notes, because there's been, Disney has kind of canceled some other queer related projects, or like erased, there was like supposed to be like a trans character in a show and they removed that somewhat more recently, and there were some people that weren't sure if that potentially may have been a note from Disney, or if that was within Pixar themselves decided to, you know, change that, specifically for this film, the characterization of someone who was maybe, you know,
maybe it's because like I'm gay, but I thought he was meant to be a gay character. Just
well, see, like I also kind of got
like,
that
I just got
feeling
the vibe
as well, like that maybe part of the reason why he doesn't feel like he fits in is related to that, and you know, obviously like military, like lifestyle,
and he definitely, you know, felt more like he wasn't like a very like
but obviously it seems like they toned down aspects of his personality that maybe would have made me like the film more, you know, like maybe enhanced or made that better, but it's hard to know.
Well,
but yeah, you know, we'll have 2 Pixar films coming out next year. The 30th film is, I was gonna look up the title of it. It's Hoppers. It's like an environmentally kind of related film that seems it's an original film.
It's supposed to come out in March, and then Toy Story 5 is supposed to come out in June. So
which
we will see.
I'm not thrilled for Toy Story 5.
No, we'll see if any of those get delayed. But we will be back in 2026 with more Pixar. So
we will, sooner than the last time we saw you. So we'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, we forgot our. Sorry. If you want to follow us, we have an Instagram account, R3 Podcasts. We also have a Gmail account, r3podcasts@gmail.com, and a Letterboxd account that I will be updating with our ranking and including some type of quote from us from this episode. So feel free to check those out if you're interested. Let us know if you have any comments, questions, concerns. If you have any suggestions, we're always open to suggestions. Some of our episodes have been suggestions taken from friends or other people that we know. So yeah. All right.
Bye.
We would like to thank Joseph McDade for our intro music. He provides free music available for all kinds of creative use. The song that we used is called Sunrise Expedition, and you can find it and his other music on his website, josephmcdade.com. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at r3podcasts@gmail.com. That's R, the number 3, podcasts@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram by searching Research Rank Repeat.